How about now? Are we coming through now?
Very delayed, but yeah.
What was that?
Very, very delayed, but yeah.
Okay, good deal. All right, thank you guys for your patience. By the way, check out the you'd think that having trained for meteorology and being an on-screen broadcaster, I would be used to this. But yeah, so check out this. Pretty excited, working on building up the stream. So I've got my chat window going on in there. Yeah, thanks for hanging with us through the technical difficulties. Got that figured out. Nothing like your microphone deciding you need to reset it up to OBS. But what I was talking about was that last time with some folks in critique group, in the chat, I got so excited they were there, I forgot to share some Kidlit Jan with you. So this is one of my favorites. Dragon Hoops by Gene Luen Yang. The name might sound familiar. He is the same creator who wrote the book that American Born Chinese, the recent Disney Plus series, was based on. The book and the show are very different. They are both very good. This book is also very different than American Born Chinese, and it is also very good. So yes, basketball is a theme throughout the book. I'm not going to spoil too much of it, but it also follows Gene's journey, part of his career path in the story. He's a character, and it's about the time that he was getting ready to go write some Superman comics for DC. Anyway, I love this book. It's super good. You owe it to yourself to give it a read, and not just if you're a kid. And so I got the good stuff too. I mean, that book is the good stuff as well. This is what my kids say is the good stuff. I actually snuck this out of my son's room. So I don't imagine you need me to tell you who Dav Pilkey is if you've so much as walked by the kids book section at Barnes & Noble, Target, literally anywhere. He is meteoric. He has been producing for like 20 years. He's incredible. Kids love him, and they will tell you all about it. But also, if you're a creator, you should read the series, the Cat Kid Comic Club. This is actually a spin-off of Dogman. But it's pretty incredible. It gives not just commentary about creativity and how to create and how to overcome, creative block, all sorts of stuff like that. Later books get into a little bit about kind of how publishing or getting published even works. And then on top of it all, they just got all these amazing little like cute but hilarious comics inserted throughout. Not just good for kids. This is really great, especially for creators. I highly recommend reading the series. They are hilarious. Dav Pilkey is a genius. So yes, that was what I meant to share last time. Before I get started on the warm-up, I did want to bring up something else. I'm working on something new, and I'm so excited to share it. Let me just get it prepped here. So, as I mentioned with the chat box, I'm building out stream here. I'm working on getting everything, adding some new bells and whistles, getting it where I would like to see it. And so I'm working on a stream ending screen. And I thought it would be fun to do an animation, and I realized, hey, Clip Studio Paint is also an animation tool. So I'm still learning, but check. Let me bring it over here. This is just a preview of what we've got going on. This is actually a piece that I did just for fun from one of the Society for Children's Book Writers and Illustrators, also known as SCBWI. They run monthly prompts to challenge their illustrators to see what they can create. They usually share it on social media. This is one I did. The theme was actually Moving Day, When I finish it, you'll see why that fits to this picture. However, I was super stoked to start working with the animation tools, and felt like a magician when I actually got this little piece of it to work. So yes, I'm very excited, and stay tuned. I cannot wait to add it. It turns out once you actually watch enough tutorials and understand what you're doing, it's not too bad. I guess that applies to a lot of Clip Studio Paint, to be honest. Powerful program, little learning curve, tons of stuff you can do. All right, so I think it's time to start warm up. So, if you've been here before, you know the drill. I warm up drawing Pokemon, which I select one randomly from 5 cards I've pulled from our household collection. And we're just gonna do a quick 5-minute warm up on it. So, cards? Yeah. Come on, weather person. Trying not to look, but I totally did look. 1 second. Trying to keep it as random as I can for myself and not steer it. I got it, thanks. All right, so we got Zigzagoon. All right. So, 2 Clip Studio Paint. To an empty illustration window. Get rid of my timeline there. And I'm gonna pull up a reference image for us all. As I usually say, if you are an artist, if you are not an artist, please feel free to join along. Grab a piece of paper, grab anything that will make a mark, anything you can make a mark on, and just have fun drawing. You don't have to show anybody, or you can show everybody. It is totally up to you. All right, got our reference image right here. Just go ahead and name that layer for organization's sake. Okay. We'll get the timer ready to go. I can do a darker blue than that for my sketch layer. Okay, so here's the rules. We're gonna do this for 5 minutes. I like to do this warm up by starting with a sketch layer, something that's just very simple, working on the larger shapes. I start with a gigantic brush, so I'm not tempted to even try to draw in too much detail. And then once I finish that and get that pose where I like it, I'm gonna go in, I usually add like a pencils layer, which think of it as like an in-between. So I'm gonna do the rough shapes in the sketch layer. I'm gonna tighten that up a little bit, make some decisions, in the pencils layer, and then I'm gonna go over that pencils layer one more time with final lines. If I'm making a finished piece, which is not what we're doing here. The point of the warm-up is solely to just start thinking in terms of shape, get that art brain moving, get your arm loosened up, and get in the mood to make some art. So with that, 5 minutes, away we go. And I'm gonna use my handy dandy design pencil brush. This one is my favorite in the basic Clip Studio package. It does a lot. So, all right, what are we gonna do? We're not gonna do the same pose. So maybe you're gonna be getting some food. I think begging for food seems pretty good. Yeah, actually, the tail kind of goes like that. So I hope everybody's been having a good day today. It has been a pretty good day here. We're better week than last week. Still figuring out a few things with some family health challenges, but by and by, much improved over last week. And I'm very thankful for that. Although, they have been replacing the roofs in our community, and that entails some very loud hammering starting earlier in the morning than I would like it to. But that will be done soon. and we'll have a new roof, and that will be very nice. So you like this, do these little, that's a vaguely Pikachu-like pose, but I can live with that for now. So the eyes will go kind of here. He's got that kind of mask going on. There's the nose. You know, maybe we're gonna have him tilt that head a little bit. Yeah, I like that idea. Okay. A little bit more so it looks intentional. Okay. That'll do for a sketch. So I'm going to reduce the opacity, make it just a bit lighter so I don't confuse myself. I'm going to drop down my brush size, something a little smaller. And, you know what, move this guy over just a little bit. Keep it close to my reference, get back to my pencils layer, and start just laying down a little bit of details. If you are drawing along with, we've got about 2 minutes left. Get kind of that mask shape going on there. Yeah, that's not really symmetrical. Maybe slim that down on that side. So if you're out there in chat, feel free to drop a line and say hello. Also, if you just feel like lurking, lurkers are always welcome here. I am never going to call you out, because I actually also tend to be a bit of a lurker when I'm watching streams. Those eyes in there. I am working a little bit on trying to get this a bit more symmetrical than my sketch started out. Wow, that is the timer. All right. Pens down, everyone, if you're doing the drill with me here. If you like what you're working on, feel free to keep on doing it while you're watching. Feel free to come back to it later. It's all good. I think I appreciate those of you who are not artists if you decided to join in here, because I think it takes a little bit of courage sometimes to step out and try something that you don't think you're good at. But honestly, sometimes you're going to surprise yourself. And really the people, a lot of the people that you see that you think are great artists, they drew a lot of things that they have thrown away, ripped to shreds, burned, deleted, undeleted, deleted again because they didn't like it that much. It's just a lot of practice. It's a whole lot of drawing because you like doing it and because you have the drive to get better. And that's where you eventually start to build the skill. It's all a muscle. All right, so save this one. Might come back to it later, might not. We'll see someday. So now I'm gonna get back to our comic. This is where we got last week. If anybody wasn't here, wants a refresher, let me just bring that time-lapse window up. There we go. So I had the script that I had already written out, just the words. I laid out my panels. I set my text to make sure I left room for it. I did my sketch layers, and then up in this top left, you can see where I went on in and drew in my pencils and then drew in my final lines. So I think today, just because I like to get everything on kind of an even keel, I'm going to work through first on pencils on all the layers and then final lines on all the layers, and then I'll go through and start laying down color if there's time. I've got about 40 minutes. The details do take some time, so I can't guarantee I'm gonna make it through the whole thing today, but I'm gonna do my best. All right, so here we are. And let's see. I broke this up into foreground, background. I haven't touched this since last week, so I am remembering things along with any of you who are watching right now who watched the last one. And also, I totally got distracted by the music in the background. Really liking this Final Fantasy X mix. Any 10 fans out there? All right. Pencils. I'm just gonna grab the color. There we go. What do we go with here? 12 maybe? Alright, so this is kid number one's super mega shocked expression. Of course I'm not doing it now, but usually I can just feel my face contorting into whatever expression I'm trying to draw. When I'm doing people's faces, it's really something to see. I mean, that and the fact that I'm always kind of making faces. It's just my natural state. Here we observe the Jeff in his natural habitat. So you may notice that for me, my pencils tend to be pretty close to my final lines. Just a bit rougher. That kind of allows me to just, when I'm doing lines, I can really just focus on nailing down the quality of the line that I want. Both in traditional media and in digital, when you're working with like a stylus where pressure sensitive surface, you get a lot of brushes that vary their look based on the pressure, which can be either the thickness of the line or it can be the opacity. This brush actually does both, so I like to pre-plan where I'm drawing my lines so I can then come in for my final lines and just focus on that line thickness, line opacity, and get that feeling that I'm looking for. At least try to. Do I always get there? Probably not. It's like pog face. Oh goodness. One of these days I'm gonna remember to set up hotkeys for this. I usually don't work with the keyboard accessible. A lot of my time working, I'm just sitting on the sofa with like a lap desk or whatever. So I've got this folded up. I'm working on a Microsoft Surface Studio laptop. So it's got a really cool hinged screen. It can be a tablet, it can be a laptop. I don't usually interact with it as a laptop. So my keyboard is not accessible, nor do I have any kind of remote or something like that where I can just hotkey stuff as easily. So I've gotten really used to not using hotkeys. But I also realize how much faster it would be if I did. I actually got a great piece of advice now that I think about it, from one of our friends from the Kids Comics Unite group, and that was that I should, use this stream as a chance to also observe my habits and how I draw, and see where I can improve my efficiency, which, as it turns out, for a graphic novel, is intensely important. If you're drawing, like 150 to 250 pages with, like a mean of maybe 5-6 panels a piece, that adds up. There, that looks like kid number one. I'll take it. And for those of you who weren't there last week, this is 100% derived from an actual conversation I overheard my kids having, because, kids will point out that things like that. Like, hey, Daddy's head is noticeably bobblehead-like. Bring this back just a little bit. Yeah. So if you've seen stream before, you've heard me mention the lasso tool gets a lot of use, especially in the sketch phase, but also in the pencils. I like to use it. There's still plenty of space to move things around. That's one of the reasons I like doing things. Fascinating musical interlude there. It's nice to be able to start going in and making some choices and tightening things up without really finally committing to your this is my line, which is nice, and then saves a lot of consternation in the long run. And I will say that's my way. It probably goes without saying. I'm a self-taught artist, so a lot of what I suggest, it comes from me. I do, we've done a lot of classes, a lot of seminars, and I'm very fortunate to have an amazing group of creators that I work with. But ultimately, I'm just kind of showing you guys what works for me, and if that's interesting to you or if that helps you in some way, that's awesome. If you have something that works better for you, then that's what you should do. Because ultimately, like, people can sit and try to tell you with as loudly as they want what you should and shouldn't do or how you have to do things, but there are very few times that actually pans out. All right, maybe we're gonna do like a hand gesture here. It seems kind of weird to have them both just slumping there, so maybe I'll just do kind of something like that. Maybe lower. There we go. Okay. Just like this, so thumbs are gonna be in. Yes, that's right. I do sometimes need to model poses for myself. I've actually definitely 100% taken pictures of my own hand to look at from another angle. Be like, okay, how's that? Because you think you know what a hand looks like, and then you go to draw a hand, and you get some pretty interesting things sometimes. Like that. Hey. So we're gonna have Dad turn back away for this one. Unsuspectingly, not realizing where this conversation is gonna go. Right, so do I want to move that pan in panel 1? It's not super duper clear that that's what it is, right behind the faucet like that. I will leave it for now. See how it looks when I start adding color. Even though it is not super duper fun to change things a lot when you start getting the phase of laying down color after you've done pencils and final lines, it is still necessary sometimes. Sometimes you need to just see what's not working and say, okay, I'm going to fix this. Which is a really tough balance with sometimes also being like, I need to stop trying to be a perfectionist on everything, because that also will stop you from actually getting anything done. And now I fully acknowledge here that I could be just copying and pasting the pencils, or even a big chunk of the background layer from panel 1 in. And that is a totally valid option to do. I like the feeling of things being a bit more organic at the cost of the consistency. Other people will will say, hey, no, why would I spend the extra work drawing something I've already drawn that's just in the background? And that is a very valid take as well. So really, it just kind of, that's not super flat line. That's definitely not a flat line. Remember that time when I was able to draw a straight line? That was pretty great. Oh my gosh, are you serious, Jeff? Yeah, what I once heard is that the easiest straight line to draw is straight down. So that's why I've rotated the canvas to do that. That was actually from a Disney animator. I think that was at... Was that at a drawing session, or was that actually on a Disney Plus show? At any rate, it's true. I've found a lot of... it does help sometimes if you're struggling to get that straight line straight down. It does help a lot. Also the big advice usually is that drawing from your shoulder and not just like from your wrist is in general better. At least that's what I've gathered the traditional wisdom to be. But also sometimes it's really helpful for fine details to get in there and do it with the wrist, for me. Which is another reason that this glove is great. I love these digital, well, I don't know if they're specifically, they're art gloves. If you're working digitally, they stop the screen from registering your hand as a touch. If you're working in traditional media, they can help stop smudging things. They can help protect you from getting stuff on your hands as well. I don't work traditionally, but digitally it's been a real help. But getting back to what I was saying about not, I don't like to copy and paste backgrounds a whole lot if I can avoid it. Also, you're noticing I'm not using the straight line tool. Almost every art program has a straight line tool, and they are great. They draw straight lines. However, that was another piece of really good advice I got, was that sometimes the imperfection in your line is actually really helpful. It gives your art a sense of life. It gives it some personality. Carries just a little bit, even if it's not perfect, it carries a little bit of you in it. Because who's perfect anyway? Deep thoughts by Jeff. No, I wasn't trying to go there. But the things like not perfectly straight lines, not always perfectly closed shapes, some gaps, a brush that uses a little bit of texture in your line. These are all things that are really helpful for giving a sense of life and energy to your piece. That was some really good advice I got from a mentor, and I absolutely followed through with it to this day. Because I really like what it did. I used to draw using only like the pen tool, so something like this super clean line, which has its place and looks really great depending on what you're trying to do. But for the last year and a half, I've been trying to work with things that have a little more of a sense of life, trying to let things be a little more organic. I'm told that a lot of the closed gap stuff, the thick lines, it's very inspired by like an animation style or manga style, so which is good. It's not as much the style in comics, and trying something different really pushed me to grow a little bit and learn, which is kind of the point, right? Yeah. Right. So we get there. All right, that's pretty good. I am noticing, though, that in my first panel, I failed to finish the lines in the background. All right, you know what? We're going to come back and do it with the lines pass for panel 1, because I am going to keep on rocking here on pencils. You know what? I'm gonna make kind of a command decision here. Gonna move Dad over, make him a little more center of the frame. And from there, we're gonna put the kids walking away, at least one kid walking away. I think that'll read a little bit clearer as to what's actually going on. Because the intent is absolutely that, the kids have had this, throwaway exchange, and Dad is now having an existential crisis. And you'll notice here, for example, that I actually decided to just draw straight on the pencils. I didn't bother to go into the sketch layer because I already kind of done a lot of the layout. I figured out where I wanted things to sit. So in this case, it just makes sense to start drawing the pencil layer. But because I hadn't figured out some of the shapes, it is a little rougher, a little more edge to it. Shoulders a little bit dramatically back. Let's just tweak that guy. Rotate. Okay. All right, we're doing okay. We're doing okay. Y'all still good out there? And I think I want to tweak this expression for Dad. This is... Sorry, I just cracked myself up. I promise I don't just do that all the time. Just imagining like the comic ends with this slow zoom in on sad dad face. Zoom in, just trying to get double check how I did the dad's hair here. I have done representations of my hairstyle in a lot of different ways over the years, and sometimes I need to remember which one I'm doing now. Actually, this is great. My first comics were in like, oh gosh, 4th, 5th, 6th grade. And like my characters were just like this. Hold on. But Saya. And the hair was like this. And for some reason, my hair obviously didn't do this, but this was my hair. It was just like 3 razor sharp triangles protruding from the front of my skull, and that was me. That was Kid Jeff. So I've come a long way, is what I'm saying. I do wish I had some of those old comics. I don't know where they went. I actually did like a whole book of comics for my like 8th grade project. Like, cause we had to turn in a large writing project at the end of the school year, and like I did this whole book. I worked my butt off. Like I drew them. I was sitting there. I did them digitally, so I was like sitting in MS Paint with like the mouse, like drawing like. But I turned it in. I remember especially because like I stayed up till 2 or 3 in the morning the day before it was due, and we lucked out and got a snow day, and that was the best ever. But I turned it in. They're like, yes, this will be part of your writing portfolio. This will be in a file for you. It will follow you all the way up to your senior year, and then when you graduate, we will give you this back. And I never saw it ever again, which is a shame because It was fun. It was fun to do. I'm sure like comics don't like stand up particularly well. I'd be like, why did I think this was funny if I looked at it? But I remember the fun I had doing it. You know, and being totally inspired by all that fun that I had doing a creative writing and art project. I said, yes, I'm going to do meteorology for the rest of my life. Not that that was a bad choice. I have enjoyed it. I made a lot of good friends. That's why I met Ashley. But I don't know how I came to that particular conclusion. Actually, I mean, it did have a little bit to do with the movie Twister, if anyone is a fan. Heads up to any kids out there. Don't make your career choice based on a movie. It is a lie. Okay, a little bit of the cabinet. That's a really big pan, dude. That's better. The vent hood actually came down to here, right? Excuse me. Look out, Dad. Don't whack your head on the vent hood. You could dent the vent hood. I'll just draw more cabinets up there. That seems like a good call. Should I make it actually burning? Maybe just like a little wisp of smoke starting to come up, because I do kind of really want to make it burning in the last panel, just for kind of a little gag there. Okay. That's good. That was a fast panel. Yay. Look at me go. You might not be able to see it behind the camera, but I'm just going in and making sure to label all my layers to save myself a lot of grief later. So I'm not sitting here trying to be like, okay, which one is layer 37? Not that I absolutely don't still do that sometimes, but trying to do better. Text, drop you in a folder. Reduce your opacity. All right. What does a dad having an existential crisis look like? No. Alright, how do you... Hold on, I'm gonna go over to my OBS for a second so I can see what I'm doing. Is it like... Like that? Is that good? Yeah, this is gonna be a great thumbnail for the video. It's like, looks like I'm voguing to my own art video. Okay. Maybe like that. That's a very long finger. Okay, there we go. And thumbs are towards the back, so thumbs would not be entirely visible in this pose. Yeah, that's too high. What am I cooking there? That is a great question, Ashley. Based on my track history, it's stir fry. It's definitely stir fry. That used to be my 100% go-to, and then I cooked it so much that I burned everyone in the entire house out on it, and we may never have it again. What would you suggest it be, Ashley?
I have no suggestion.
No suggestions?
Are you cooking tomorrow?
It's sorry, Ashley is just doing some shenanigans over here. That's good. That's good. Did any of you guys watch the Steamed Hams channel while it was still on before it got shut down? So for those of you who don't know, it was a Twitch channel that was ran 24/7, and it was like all AI based content. So I think they fed, I don't know what exactly how they fed the AI, but like they fed it the script for the Simpsons Steamed Hams skit, which is pretty hilarious. I do think so. If you want to look it up some other time, it's good. It's good times. Simpsons Steamed Hams. But anyway, they had the computer just iterated over hundreds of variations of this skit with the two characters interacting, and the setup was that Principal Skinner is cooking dinner for Superintendent Chalmers, and the computer would spit out these crazy, like, fancy or very regional specialty dishes, and half of the hilarity of watching the stream was just seeing like what ridiculous things the AI was going to tap into. I don't know if they archived any of them. They I think got a temporary ban on Twitch for something for a while, and then eventually they got completely taken down. But it was pretty hilarious while that lasted. It definitely cracked me up. But then again, I really, really, really like ridiculous humor. Dad's hair just a little bit. Messy there. Ear. Should ear be in front? Should ear be behind? Ear in front, ear behind. Ear in front, ear behind. Yeah, I think it's gonna be in front. Maybe not quite like that, but it works out. That works. That works. You know what? It works. Turn our bubble here. I can bring it down a little bit so we're not cramming into the panel border. Nope. I'm not doing a smooth bubble, I'm doing a There we go. I like that. Maybe behind? No, in front. This is gonna be the dilemma. Ear in front or ear behind. No, maybe just one side of it. Alright, vent hood. Wow, that vent hood really got away from me in the sketch. Okay. It's down. It's right here. It's right here. There we go. Cabinet boundary comes down to about here. Okay. Okay. All right. I am happy with the pencils phase. Here we go. Fairly consistent. Pretty happy with that. Okay. So let's do lines. I need to get in here and touch up some background lines. We're using black. I can use a little bit lighter line in here. Not doing the pen. See a couple spots to clean up as well. Get you. For anyone who wasn't here last week, I'm using Clip Studio's vector layers here to do the final lines. And what's nice about that is this. It is not just a map of pixels and each pixel is a certain color. It is a path. So what you're seeing here are the actual points along the line, and I can change any of them if I want to, and it'll change my line. And while it gives you some flexibility to get your lines just so, the real, in my opinion, strength of it is that it gives you the ability to upscale the image, the line art, very easily and very cleanly. So this is, at a 300 DPI resolution. This is just what I standardly draw in. Granted, this is just going to be for digital, so I could totally put it out at something like a 72 or a 96 dots per inch, and that will display just fine. 300 DPI is more of a print resolution, although professional printing I think now is heading even higher towards, say, 600, even 1200 DPI for your lines. But with vector lines, with Clip Studio, if it just follows the path with the assigned brush, so basically it does pay attention to your pen pressure, so it knows how to adjust the opacity and the thickness of the line, but I can scale this up from 300 to 1200 and it will still maintain the quality. Whereas if you do that with like a raster image, it's gonna get really choppy. Like you're gonna see kind of, it will look like this essentially. I want to keep going on these lines, so I'm not going to scale it up right this second. But it is incredibly nice thing with CSP to be able to do that. I'm going to turn off my text layer for a second. Yeah. And the nice thing too that I really like about this is if I come in, I'm like, okay, that line got a little bit away from me. I can just pull out some vertices. I can say, okay, I want a little bit of wiggle in here because it's, I want it to be at least a little bit loose, a little bit alive, but that is too much. And I'm getting into the danger zone here. It is really easy once you start adjusting your vertices. That's what these points along the path are called. It's really easy to just get so into the I need to get this line perfect mentality that you spend a whole lot of time drawing, perfecting and straightening out a line that never needed to be perfect. But like this one got away from me just a bit. So I'm just gonna give it a little scooching. Little scooch here. And I'm pretty happy with that. Again, the goal isn't perfect, but if it's something where like I look at it and it kind of pulls my eye away from what's going on, that's usually a sign of, okay, this is something that I'm going to want to go back and adjust. I think, especially when you're doing like a bigger book, like a graphic novel, like this is just a little webcomic, right? Like this is not a huge thing. But when you're doing longer work, especially work that might be a little more dramatic, you really need to pay attention to how much time you're spending, like how much detail you're putting into it. Because the detail is like an invitation. You're saying, hey, reader, you're looking at this panel anyway, so why not spend a little more time here? Why not dig in and see everything that I put on this page or everything I put in this panel? And by doing that, you're saying, hey, give this moment in the story a little bit more of a beat. It probably shouldn't be like a jarring amount more detail, but I think that you'll notice a rhythm. Like if you look at well-done books, you will see some variation often in the amount of detail. Now, granted, you're going to also see some things, especially like manga, where just the detail is insanely good. There's so much detail and it's all beautiful. And almost every panel, you're just like, I just want to stare at this panel for like the next 20 minutes and take in everything it's got going on. But small variations in detail and being strategic about where you really go into it can help a lot in terms of just setting up your pacing. Yeah, this is going to be mostly covered by a word balloon, but just for continuity, I'm going to put it here. I know I was saying last time, I used to be really intense about this, where every single element was like its own layer, and I would complete everything behind every element. So like I'd have like a kitchen background, then I'd have an island background, I'd have the dad would be his own layer, and the kids would each be their own layer, and everything would be completely colored in behind, which is great if you're doing something like animating a stream ending screen, like I was doing. However, if you're doing something like a comic and no one's ever going to see it, that piece is never going to move, you like your composition, there's not really as much point to doing it. You're just kind of spending a lot of time on something that maybe makes you feel a little bit better, but doesn't end up serving you. And I say it like I'm kind of like, I'm great at this, but it's something that I'm working on myself. Figuring out like, okay, when do I really want to spend the time to add in the detail here? And it's just kind of a learning thing. All right, get this last cabinet in here. Okay, well now panel 1 is actually done. Awesome. And I can turn off the pencils. Yay! Oh. Did want to add just a little texture to kid number 2's hair here. Just give it a little more flow, a little more variety, I guess is the word I'm looking for. Okay, good. Lines, panel 1, done. Alright, so we can at least start on this. I see we are already at an hour. Holy cow. Can't believe it's been an hour already. Time flies, right? Turn off my sketches. Turn down the opacity of my pencils. Again, I like to do the foreground layer, just a slightly thicker line. Thicker lines tend to force things to naturally jump out to you a little bit. And it kind of gives this gentle nudge to your reader of, hey, this is where you should be looking right now. Again, I try to leave just a little bit of unclosed lines in here, just to give it a little roughness, a little organic feel. Does it make it harder to color in the long run? Perhaps a little bit, but I can live with that for a 4-panel comic. Alright, maybe I will stop after I get this foreground and panel 2 done. Being that it's a work night and all. So one nice thing about lines is it's not too intense of a mental load to do. I am, sitting here trying to focus on like, okay, how hard am I pressing? Like, what's the quality I want? Do I want to close this line here? But those are pretty easy decisions once you've figured out where you want to draw the line. So especially like if I can have stuff in a good shape to be doing lines or inks, as you might say, it's a great kind of easy task to sit and do while I'm watching TV or whatever. And kind of therapeutic. It's one of those things that you can just get in a little bit of a rhythm with. And that's always a nice feeling. I don't know about you guys, like certain tasks, especially the ones like that you can get in a rhythm with, like if I do it long enough, I will almost guaranteed like dream about it that night while I'm doing it. Like way back years ago, I worked at a Target, for example, and like, zoning, like straightening all the boxes on the shelves. That was one of those types of things. So I would do that. And then like at the end of the day, I would just go home and dream about doing that. Which I guess now sounds kind of weird to say. But, it's one of those things that my brain like kind of latched onto. Okay. It is time to stop now, Jeff. Save your work. Artists always save your work. So let's... Cool. Well, hey guys, that is it for time tonight. I gotta go. I am feeling wiped out, and also I have to work in the morning, so I'm gonna cut it out here. I will look forward to seeing you guys next week. Thursdays, 10 p.m. Eastern time is when I stream, at least for now. Hopefully, I'd love to do this some more in the future. Thank you everybody for joining me. If you're watching this on YouTube, thanks for checking it out. Feel free to drop a line in the comments. Tell me how you liked it. Tell me, oh gosh, I got nothing. I like to think of a random thing for people to say, usually in the YouTube comments. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it leads to a conversation about wine noodle soup, and that's pretty fun. But I got nothing tonight. But simply, thank you. Thank you for watching. So everybody out there, I hope you have a great week. I will see you next time. Keep drawing, keep reading, and have a great night. Thank you guys so much. Bye.